Top 5 takeaways from the Big 12 meetings. We had a segment on this early in the show, which you can find on YouTube, but thought I would bookend it this way for those of you who couldn't join us at 3 Central. Number 5, no votes on membership. So it wasn't like they voted and said we're going to take people and all that. And we'll talk about the plan for expansion later on. But if anybody was expecting, I think there's been some this is the week. And it once again is not the week. So there's not a vote on membership. So that didn't happen. If anybody was expecting it to, which I know the two of us weren't, Craig.
Yeah, and I don't even know where that came from originally, but I saw in passing a couple of tweets about June 1st and things like that, and I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I never had any expectations for them to be moving this week on anything like that. I think that it's still very much a waiting game as far as that goes. But yeah, definitely noticed some more of there's something brewing type of a deal, and yeah, that was kind of foreign to me. I didn't know what that was in regards to. And so if there was some expectation for some votes on members and stuff, I don't think we're close to that right now. So yeah, sorry. I'm not gonna apologize. I was gonna say sorry to disappoint. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry if you got your hopes up, I guess. But I guess just be smart about where you get your news.
Yeah. This is kind of like waiting to find out who Jon Snow's mother was.
Right, yeah.
Oh, maybe this year will be the one. And then it wasn't until almost the very end.
Yeah, maybe you have to wait a little while to find that out. It was worth waiting in the end, and I'm sure this probably will be as well. But yeah, we didn't expect that. If there was other reasons why to believe that, it's never got on our radar, and that's fine. But yeah, nothing in that regard happened this week.
Yep. Number 4, we'll know about Big 12 Mexico next week. This one intrigued. I want to see the whole rollout for this, and I didn't realize that the information that had been floated out there was premature. Excuse me. I didn't realize that, and he kind of pointed that out. But we'll know about that next week, and that's. I wonder how much of the other things that they're doing, Big 12 Mexico, the Big 12 Pro Day in the NFL, the international thing, the Rucker Park deal, how much do people try to copy this, or is this something that they're going to wait and see how it goes before they do it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably anything else. If it's successful, people will copy it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the easiest way to look at it, and probably the smartest way to look at it is just that, yeah, if it works, then there will definitely be others who try to duplicate that in some form or fashion, and get a leg up or a little extra money in their pockets or whatever it is that comes to fruition because of this. But it's funny though to think about Big 12 Mexico. It reminds me of when WWE is launching their NXT brands, NXT UK and NXT, these side projects. It's almost it almost seems like they're going to announce this Mexican league of, new Big 12 schools, the LWO of the Big 12 or something. But yeah, Big 12 Mexico, what that entails outside of a rumored basketball game, which as you mentioned was announced to be unofficially as Kansas and Houston, I believe. Mm-hmm. That is not official. And, I don't know if they pivot from that, if that was original. I trust the reporters. Joseph Duarte and them don't just make up stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not singling him out either. I just know he did have that, I think, along with others a few weeks back. But, yeah, what that actually entails, it'll be interesting to know if it's football as well, or if they just start off with basketball, or how they do it. And I'm sure a lot of people will be watching to see, just that and how it obviously works out in the end for them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, number 3, they're not changing the name. They're not changing the logo. There's not going to be a new name for the conference. They're just rebranding it in a different way. So we'll find out what that is, I think, along with Big 12 Mexico. I'm sure those announcements are coming probably back-to-back on the same day as they reveal that stuff. So there were some thoughts that they might change the name.
Yeah, I hadn't really given that a lot of thought, but I can understand why people did. Just with all the changes that are taking place, why not change, some other things as well? And especially a number name when that could fluctuate by, I don't know, next month. They could be looking at 14, 16 teams or 5 months from now or whenever something does or does not happen. But I mean, they've been in the news so much, it would kind of be a shame to change it at this point, right? You kind of know it. And if finally, when it's actually got some perhaps positive connotation to it for the first time in a really long time, and it's not just, talking about the teams that are leaving, I can see why they're going to go ahead and decide to just stick with it. It's interesting, though, the logo was changed not that long ago. So he's talking about modernizing it. I'm curious to know what that looks like. So, look forward to that. But, I don't think that there's going to be any major rebranding based on what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's not. And, again, there was a time where they could have changed the name. That was probably a decade ago.
Yeah, you would have done that previous. But, right now, it's like probably the most you've been able to actually stick your chest out and kind of feel good about what direction everything is headed. So, it would be a shame to suddenly pivot on that. But, I mean, I guess they're going to change just that logo right there is going to be the logo, but just modernized is basically what it was explained, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be similar to what we see there, not something completely brand new either.
Yep. Number 2. Basketball will eventually have its own media deal. I mean, this will, especially if this does get them more money, other people will follow suit. But if they can increase their basketball brand in the same, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be the same as football, but the same way that the SEC has done with football, then it's overall worth it. If you can constantly in basketball get more money than everybody else does, then I think that's what this is about. Because if they do this, then everybody else is going to try to do the same thing too. But if you can have that juice of the built-in, and again, it's going to be, look, you heard Scott Drew talking about the Big 12 earlier. Coaches used to never do that. They never used to tout the horn for their conference. Now they have to. And you need your conference to be good all the way around. Otherwise, you've got problems that are not of your making. So, you hear they're going to have to market themselves in the same way that the SEC did. And I remember asking Mac Rhodes about this, about getting better at selling yourself constantly, which the Big 12 has never really been good at hitting their high points. Like, at their best football-wise, they missed that opportunity. Because there was a time where the Big 12 was a conference you did not want to mess with in football. That is not they're not, I don't think they were ever to that SEC level, but they had, it was a gauntlet. And then now that even it's gotten better, like the last couple of years of parity, and last year was a really tough year, and they had a bunch of teams who were contending for the title, and a fun year to watch in football, is fallen back to behind other conferences because of their inability to show everybody what they were doing. So they need to do this in basketball, where they've got 2 of the last 3 national titles, 3 of the last 4 years they've had a team in the title game. So yeah, they need to highlight this, because this is the strength that's not going anywhere in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't think I can add really anything to that. It makes sense. We'll see if it works or not. I think it's trying to speak it into existence right now as much as it actually being a reality. But certainly if it works, then others will follow suit. And if anybody could do it, it would be them at the moment. So, try to take advantage of that momentum. Yeah,
the SEC was smart. When they started going on the roll in football, then they started telling us it meant more. Mm-hmm. It has worked. It has absolutely worked. Number 1, there is a plan for expansion. Like, they've got their plan. It's laid out. So coming from Brett Yormark's mouth, as opposed to, more speculative things. Like, you heard that we had the quote earlier of like what they look for, what their plan is, how they're going to go about it, when and if the opportunity arises. So yes, there's a plan for expansion. They're not sitting around waiting, and clearly that's been a thing for him. And it's one of the other reasons we played Karen Brodkin again today, because she reiterated the fact that there are big plans on the horizon for the Big 12, and she did not say the word expansion, but I mean, that's part of it. So there is a plan for expansion.
Well,
a specific plan.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope so.
Yeah,
I mean, if there wasn't, and they're just blindly rolling into the day like, all right, what are the papers saying today? What do we have to say in response? I mean, they're not dummies. This has all been probably even more orchestrated than we even realize in some cases. We probably played into it sometimes unwillingly or willingly, just based on the topic du jour. But, if they didn't have a plan by now, and I assume they did to begin with, but if they didn't by now, then we're giving them far too much credit, and the conference deserves to fizzle out and die. But there's too many smart people in the room, so, to hear him say that, I mean, look, Dude, he's the one that got the ball rolling on all the talk to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, had they just
Open
added the
for
fourth,
business,
yeah, like that was him a summer ago. So, I think that there's too many smart people to not have to just be driving blindly and hoping that they just somehow, pull up in front of the house in Boulder and have people willingly like wanting to join the ride. I mean, they've got to have a calculated outlook on everything, and expansion is no different. So, yeah, good to know though that they have a plan.
All right, that's going to do it. Thanks to Emery and Levi and Graham and Jack and Garrett.